Hi all, it's Rambler here with a quick update to say I'm sorry there hasn't been a video over the last night or so, that being tonight or something like that. It's only, no, last 2 nights actually, including this night, because on Wednesday night I was around at my nan's, because it's my nan's night on a Wednesday night, and tonight I actually ended up going to a mate's house after work and chilled with him for a bit and played Mafia 3. It was really good fun, but I ended up coming back late because, well, I could. So sorry, but there will be videos from Friday night onwards, so there you go. But I wasn't actually going to say this until I just logged onto my computer and I was having a look at my local BBC News article, and it turns out Nintendo have revealed what the NX is going to be. And I have to say, really? So, yes, Nintendo have teased what the console's going to look like. It's called the Nintendo Switch. And I'm looking at a picture of it now on the BBC News website, and it is pretty much what the rumours have been saying. It is a console that can be played on the go with detachable controllers that plug into the sides of this weird looking tablet computer style thing. And then after that, if you want to play it on a TV, you dock it into the Nintendo Switch docking station, and then the detachable controllers somehow get plugged into some weird looking bit, I guess, to make this really big, chunky, square-like controller, which I have to say I'm not really liking the design there, guys. It kind of reminds me of a bulky Xbox One controller, not the Xbox One as in the Xbox One, I mean the original Xbox controller stroke Atari Jaguar controller a little bit. It looks really impractical, but then again maybe it's actually quite good, who knows. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, I'm sure by now some of you have heard about it, but yeah, I really don't know what to think of it, to be honest with you. Personally, I think it looks very ugly. It certainly doesn't look appealing to as a console device. Not that aesthetics of a console is everything, because, I mean, the Wii U I thought was a very good looking console, but that didn't sell very well. Whereas the PS4 and the Xbox One, or at least the original one, just looked ugly as hell, although I quite like the Xbox One's original design because I like the big, bulky, retro 1970s, this is what the future's going to look like device. But the Xbox One S, on the other hand, is actually much nicer. I like that. And the PS4 Slim is a bit ugly as well. So, you know, obviously aesthetics doesn't matter is what I'm trying to say, because those consoles I've just mentioned have sold loads, whereas the Wii U didn't. But yeah, I'm looking at it now and I'm like, it's not going to work. I really don't think it's going to work. It's the reason why is not because I think it's a bad device or anything like that. I just think it's just too much hassle, you know? I mean, I think what will happen is it'll end up just being a home console for most people. Like, they'll slot it into the device at home and just leave it like that. I rarely think anyone's going to be taking it on the go, to be honest with you, because it just looks a bit too bulky. But then again, I don't know what the size is like. I'm having a look on the news article now. There was a picture. Actually, it does look quite small, thinking about it. Just looking at some other pictures now, it does look quite small. And there's people with the controllers. There's like two girls looking at the tablet on the controllers. I mean, it hasn't. Apparently, the technical specs haven't been revealed yet. But I just don't know. I really don't know. I think. I don't know. It's early days. I know I'm struggling at the moment to think of something, because not because I want to get this out to get clickbait or views or anything like that, because there's other people who are much better talking than I am or anything. I just saw it and I thought, oh, I might as well make a comment while it's here, because, well, you know, I was interested in the NX. But I'm really not impressed with how it looks. Personally, I think it looks really ugly. I don't like the look of the controller. That just looks redonkulous. The handheld device part doesn't look too bad, actually. You know, when you've got the tablet and the controllers attached to it, that looks all right. You know, it looks a bit like a slightly more stretched out Wii U controller, but a little bit more stylish and a little less clunky. I think the handheld part actually looks pretty good. You know, I could happily sit that with the handheld version in bed playing it, no problem. I think, yeah, it looks okay. Again, though, it depends on the controller, whether it fits in the hands or not. You know, some people didn't like the Wii U controller gamepad because it just didn't really fit the hands well. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it was quite a big bulky thing with some of the buttons quite spaced out. Although on the design of looking at what it looks like at the moment, It looks like the buttons are a little bit closer together, which is probably better for some people. Although with bigger hands, I'm not sure, but we'll see. I suppose when it docks into the station, it's not that bad, but I don't know. I'm not impressed with it personally. But then again, so what if the hardware looks crap? So what if it's not quite appealing? What's more important, more than anything, is the games. From what it's saying, I'm just having a look now. It says Nintendo has announced that leading game studios and publishers such as Activision, Bethesda, EA Games, Sega, Ubisoft, and Warner Bros. Have signed up to produce software. However, Mr. Jackson said Nintendo would need a strong roster of games to launch its console. It will. They need the big Mario game. Apparently, they've got a Zelda game coming out for it. Breath of Wind or something like that. I think Breath of something. I think it's something like that. I don't know. I can't remember the name of it. It does need a Metroid game as well, like a proper old school Metroid game, like the ones on the GameCube, or even just one that looks as good as the Super Nintendo one, because that was crackingly good, that game was. It needs to be exclusive to the Switch, and it needs to be available straight away, because it will sell well then. I think it'll sell pretty well, because people will look at those games and think, oh man, they look really cool. Oh, right, I'll play it on this device then. Oh, it's Mario. Oh, sweet. Oh, it's not a 2D one like New Super Mario Bros. U is, because that didn't count. It wasn't a bad game. I liked it, but it didn't count. Like Super Mario 3D World on the Wii U, I love. That's one of my favourite Wii U games ever. It was such a good game. In fact, it's one of my favourite games of all time, because it made me feel so happy when I played it. And I like the style of it. I like the music. And it wasn't anything original, but it was good. I really enjoyed it. It was a great game. But anyway, that's beside the point. But it's Breath of the Wild, sorry. Yeah, my bad. Just going on a side note there. It's not Breath of Wind, Breath of the Wild. Sorry, I was just reading it off the news article. I mean, it says here, in the past, they've got launches wrong, and if you have a lousy launch, you're in the wilderness for a few years. You could argue, actually, that the N64, when that came out, only had 2 games for it. It had Super Mario... It had Super Mario World... what was it? Super Mario 64 or something like that, and... was it Pilot Wings, I think? I don't know. But they didn't have very many launch games when that game came out, and that still sold quite well. Didn't sell as well as the PlayStation, but that was due to the cartridge constraints as opposed to CD. Developers kind of kicked it in the can a bit. But it was still a good console. And then the GameCube had a small launch library, but it was a good niche library. The Wii had a relatively small launch library as well, but that sold loads. But then again, it was gimmicky, I suppose, but you never know. And then the Wii U's launch software was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. It was very little originality there as well. So yeah, they have ballsed it up. So if they can come up with a super good Mario game, a super good Zelda game, and a surprisingly good Metroid game to go with it, I think it has a bit of a chance to make a dent in the market. But I definitely know it's not going to... I just don't think it's going to save Nintendo. I really don't know. I personally don't like the look of it at all. It looks ugly, and that's putting me off big time. But again, it's not always aesthetics. But then again, first impressions, you see. But I'm an old school gamer, so I prefer to have a handheld console and a home console. I don't particularly want one that's combined together, which is what Nintendo's doing here. And I know their handheld console market has been doing really well over the years. It's done very well, and the 3DS has been good for them too. And I like the 3DS. I really do like the 3DS. The 3DS, I think, is Nintendo's best console today. I love it to bits. I love the 3D effect. I love the games for it. I love the graphics. I love the appeal. Okay, the battery life sucks, and the original model took SD cards. And the newer models, while it's a bit better in terms of load times and the battery's a bit better and the 3D effect's much better as well, the SD card, it's a micro SD card, it's a bit fiddly to put in and stuff like that. But aside from all that, I think it's a crackingly good console. And it's my favourite of this for now. And I like the Super Nintendo, I like the NES, and I quite like the GameCube, although I didn't at the past, but now that I've retro collecting for it and played some games for it, it's actually pretty cool. I like the GameCube, it's a pretty neat little thing. And I like the Wii U. I do like the Wii U. I really do. I've got about 10 games for it, and I wish to buy more. No, sorry, I've got 12 games for it. I'm just counting them now. And I like it. I don't play it very often, but I like to get it out every now and again and play with it. But this just looks... I don't know. I'm not sold on it. I keep repeating myself, but yeah, I'm not sold on it. We don't even know what the specs are either, and that's the difficult thing. I mean... we'll see, I guess. We will see indeed. I don't know, guys. I really don't know. I think it looks really ugly, and I think the controller just looks so square. That's the thing I don't like about it. It looks square. That's the controller when you've got it all plugged into the home systems, when you slot the console into the device to plug it into the TV, and then you put your detachable controllers onto the Switch thing. It's the controller. It looks so square, and I'm looking at a picture now, like I said, of these two girls playing it, and it's hard to make out, but the size of the controller doesn't look too big, which could work in its favour. So if it's small enough, but not too small like the PlayStation controller. I like the PlayStation controller, but I know a lot of people didn't because it was the original controller, not the PS4 controller, but PlayStation 3 beforehand. It was quite small for most people. They were like, well, it's a good controller, but the buttons are a bit cramped. That's why they like the Xbox 360 controller, because the buttons are a bit more spaced out, a bit bulkier in the hands, and if you've got bigger hands, then it's great. Whereas I've got tiny hands, so the PlayStation controller was much better for me. I've always loved the PlayStation controller. Except the PS4 one is too big and bulky for me now, which is a shame. But hey, I'm in the minority when it comes to that hand size. I've got small hands. So yeah, it looks like it fits the hand okay. And if even though it's this weird square design, if it's small enough, it'll probably be all right. Actually, thinking about it, I don't think it'll be uncomfortable or anything. The Switch certainly does look pretty small. It doesn't look very big at all. In fact, they've got a small size comparison in the picture. They've got on the BBC News website. It's probably the same picture on other things as well. They've got like a Luigi and Princess Peach and Mario amiibo thing sort of standing next to it, and the console is only a little bit higher than that, probably about half the height higher than that. So I'd imagine it would be 1.5 times the tallness of an average amiibo. That's pretty small. And width-wise, it doesn't look very big either. It looks probably a little bit bigger than a 3DS, but that's about it. So yeah, I just... Yeah, one of the analysis apparently we've been looking at said this will be Nintendo's last shot at selling a home console. I think it was. And that's what it says as well. It says the Wii U was a car crash. They fudged the communication and confused everybody with the controller and what the screen was for. Yes, they did. I mean, they didn't do the worst job in the world, but it was not marketed very well. Which is a shame, because I thought the Wii U was fantastic. It wasn't perfect by any means, but I loved it. And I love the 3DS, so I can see why Nintendo have merged it together, but yeah, I think this is their last throw of the dice. If this doesn't work, then you won't see another console from Nintendo. Handheld and home console, this will be it. Which is a shame, but all good things have to come to an end, I suppose, and at the end of the day, it's actually all comes down to Nintendo. It's practically their fault if this fails, because they're very, very closed-minded, they're very secretive, they're very protective, which can have its advantages, of course it does, but in this day and age, it's... in the console market at least, that's kind of at a disadvantage now. So I don't know, because there's tablet devices out there you can buy that's for gaming, admittedly probably not as powerful as Nintendo Switch, although you've got the Nvidia Shield. That's supposed to be pretty good, at least the latest model of it is. That's supposed to be pretty powerful and kick some ass. That's not too bad, apparently. It's expensive though, but it's not too bad. But it hasn't sold a lot of units. I don't think this will either. I think this is it. I think it's at least they're trying something different. That's all. That's all I can say on Nintendo's part on this as a final word before I finish this up. At least they're trying something different with it. But I personally just think that it's going to fail. I suppose the only other interesting thing is what the cartridges are going to look like for the games, because there's no pictures here of any of the cartridges that's going to go into the system. From one angle, it looks like... No, that angle's... Sorry, I'm looking at a gap inside the tablet, but it can't be the cartridge slot. That's where the controller's attach into. So in terms of the cartridge slot, I can't see it. What I can see, though, on the top, aside from what looks like a vent on the one side, I'm looking at a picture again of the one where somebody's slotted it into the Switch docking station, and they're detaching the controllers off the side for it, and they're going to plug it into that weird rectangular thing to make a square controller. It looks like the card slots on the top left of the device. I could be wrong. It could be just a power button or something. It might very well be, but it also looks like the size of a small micro SD card. So maybe the games are going to come on one of those, a bit like the PS Vita, except probably smaller, But it could be a power switch. I mean, I'll just have a look at another picture, see if I can find something a bit better than that. Yeah, it could be a switch from one angle, or it could be that is the cartridge slot. Yeah, it doesn't look very big. So I don't know. I don't know, guys and girls. I'm not going to lie. At the moment, first impressions, I'm not impressed. I don't like the look of it. I think it's Nintendo Switch. What? Just call it the NX. I think Nintendo NX. I know NX is a code name, but I think it was just called Nintendo NX. I think the NX rolls off the tongue quite nicely. I think it would look good. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what Nintendo will say about the specs. So it's early days yet. Maybe the specs will be like, ooh, actually, that sounds really powerful. In which case, okay. And then if they show some launch titles for it that are going to look really good, like this Breath of Wild, if they get that right for Zelda, that will sell some consoles, definitely, because Legend of Zelda is very popular. I'm personally not a fan of the Legend of Zelda series. It's not like it's awful or anything. I could never get into it. And I mean, I've played... The only one I did like was the... what was it called? The Legend of Zelda Link's Adventure on the NES. It was like the second Zelda game, the side-scroller one. I liked that one because I like the side-scroller action. I, for some reason, prefer Zelda that way. And sadly as well, and I'm going to get so many dislikes for this, I actually quite like the Zelda games on the CDI. I know, the Philips CDI, Zelda, The Wonder Gamelon and Link the Faces of Evil. On my old channel, I actually did LPs of those. I don't have the footage for it anymore, but even though those games were frustrating and really badly animated and stuff, I actually got some sort of twisted enjoyment out of it. I enjoyed those games. For all the wrong reasons, but I stand by them. I play them again every now and again on my CDI console, and I actually really like them. Again, they are bad. I'm not saying they're good, but I don't think they're as bad as people make them out to be. They're definitely low budget. They're definitely not what you would call a Nintendo Zelda game, far no. But I actually quite like them. I like the music. I like the quirkiness. I like the really bad Russian animations. I like the platforming. I like... the gameplay's quite long, actually. It was longer than I thought it was going to be. I like it. It was a challenge. That was what I liked about it, and I wanted to beat it, and when I beat it, I felt so good. Zelda's Adventure, though... yeah, that wasn't as good. But I played some of it. I didn't finish that game in the end, sadly. But I did play some of it, and I was getting into it, but yeah, it was really, really hard to play. But I didn't finish it, because that's when my CDI broke down. Yeah, but anyway, I'm going off tangent here. I think my final thoughts on this is Nintendo Switch. It looks ugly, although the tablet device looks pretty okay. The tablet device with the detachable controllers on it looks perfectly fine. I could definitely play it in bed or play it in a car maybe, but other than that, I wouldn't take it with me everywhere like on a bus, or I certainly wouldn't take it with me, walking around and sitting down in the park playing it or something like that. I would definitely only reserve it for bed or for... if I'm in the back of a car because I'm being driven somewhere. But that's it, really. I wouldn't play it on a train, and I certainly wouldn't play it at work or anything. Too bulky, too problematic. So the portability, I think, is quite limited. But I want to see more about this home device. If it plugs into the TV and it gives you a really good, solid console experience, yeah. But I also think if it does do that, I think most people will just leave it in there and just think of it as a console. That's it, really. I don't think the portability is going to sell it well, and I certainly don't think people are going to take advantage of it. But I might be wrong. It may be completely the other way around. It may be that there's a bit of both, or it maybe it just doesn't sell and nobody cares. I don't know. But anyway, that's my first impression opinions on the device. I'm sorry that it was a bit long and rambly as always, but yeah, I just thought I'd make a note of it, and also you're up to date with what's going on. So like I said, Friday, tomorrow, I'll get some videos out. I'm going to do a video on my thoughts of the Undertale ending, being the Mercy ending that I experienced in my Let's Play so far. And because there's a few bits in it that I misunderstood, and some of you guys and girls have been very kind to point out bits I've misunderstood and explain it better, so I'd like to talk about that. Then we'll start the Genocide run, and I've been given lots of instructions and information about that, and a sort of non-spoiler guide to make sure that I do the right things, because you can do one small thing wrong with it and completely F it up apparently, so fair enough. So I've got that at standby, so we'll start that. And then Hyperdimension Neptunia, I might get a video out for that on Friday night. If not, it'll be over the weekend, where we'll try and finish off all the moves of the girls, because I've missed a few X finishes with Ram, and Blanc. I've got to do things a bit differently and cover other bits and bobs. Then we'll move on to Rebirth 2. And then, of course, over the weekend, we've got to do Resident Evil. I know, but nobody's watching it, but that's fine. I like to do it. It's just my kind of thing. It's nice to have some Resident Evil LPs on there. And we'll take it from there. So, again, thank you very much again for your patience, your viewership, your likes, dislikes, comments. You fill me with so much love. When I come home from work, I'm like, look it up, and I'm like, oh, I'm actually loved. Or at least made to feel I'm loved. But either way, it's great. It feels good. It means that when I come home, I feel like I've got a purpose. I can go and do what I want to do, get them out there, and people are like, yeah, this guy's alright. He's a bit weird, and he rambles too much, and he overanalyzes things. He can be a complete twat, but at the same time, he's also amusing, funny, and sometimes actually quite thoughtful. That's great. That's exactly what I want to come across as, because that's who I am. But yeah, it's great. So anyway, thank you very much, guys and girls, again. Take it easy, have a good one, hope you're all well, and I'll see you in a proper video next time. So bye for now.